Thank you guys for watching part one. This is part two of the interview with Rick Walker. We're really excited. East Cliff Brewing, we're always here having a good time. Rick, we were talking last time about, different things, influences, talking about your teaching methods, things that you like to emphasize when you're working with different students. I was wondering if you would talk to us a little bit about the looping aspect, because, looping is a very big thing that Rick has kind of become synonymous with, and Rick is also the founder, if I remember correctly, of the Looping Festival, International Looping Festival. So please, can you tell us a bit about that?
I've just been in love with repetition and groove. That's the thing. That's why I love riff rock and funk and the drum set, et cetera, et cetera. Groove playing. And if you think about it, when you're playing groove music, a lot of times it's based on parts. And so you have repeating guitar line and a repeating bass line in a verse or something like that. So in 1994, my brother and I became aware that there was the first dedicated live looping machine, and it was the Gibson EDP, right, that my good friend Matthias Grob invented. And it was like $800. It was out of our league. We couldn't do it.
Right.
So in 1995, Lexicon put out what they called the Jam Man. Although I repainted mine, they all said Jam Person. Jam Man, you guys. Anyway, so, and you could hook these things up through MIDI so that if you made a loop, if you recorded a loop, someone else could open their loop and that loop would be immediately synchronized with it. And so immediately, like within a year, I owned 3 of them because they were not that expensive.
Right.
And my brother and Gary Regina and I got a monthly gig at Mobo Sushi, and that was the first monthly live looping concert on Earth in history.
Really?
Yeah. There was none before that.
Here in Santa Cruz, guys.
Here in Santa Cruz. Mobo Sushi.
Mobo Sushi.
Yeah.
Been there before.
Yeah. So anyway, so we started doing this. This is in '95, and then right around '99 and 2000, I started doing festivals where I would, have 3 or 4 artists play, and we did them in Palo Alto, in Santa Cruz. We did them in Big Sur, and whatever. And then finally, when the Rio Theater first opened, and then no one even knew that it was a theater, I went to Lawrence Bedford and said, I got one guy coming from England. He plays bass. Could we do a festival at your place and do it for free? And so he said, yeah. So I put the word out, and all of a sudden, 9 bass players, including Michael Manring, who's very famous, all said, we want to be part of it. So we had the first bass looping festival, and there was one guy from England, so it was international.
There you go.
That was 2001. In 2002, we had the second one, but this time we called it an international festival, and by this time we had people come in from France and Germany and stuff. And so in 2003, my mother passed, and I inherited a small amount of money from her, and I took that money, invested it, and I started traveling to Europe and to Japan and Mexico, and I started seeding looping festivals.
Right.
So we now have looping festivals in 57 cities in 21 countries worldwide. We have an annual festival that we've had for 18 years, and I've been looping in public for 22 years now, 23 years, yeah. So it's become a really big part of my life. Why looping? Because if I can lay down a drum beat and then move over and pick up a bass line, and then move over and play keyboards and move over and play, whatever, a trumpet or something, some other instrument, then I can play that kind of groove-oriented, repetitive music that I love so much.
Right.
And then, so I immediately, right around 95, 96, started learning how to play bass. Then I started learning I got back to piano, which I'd played when I was 5.
Right.
And I actually had learned a lot when I was 5. I didn't realize it, but so, and then about every 6 months since that time, I've taken on a brand new instrument to start learning as a beginner.
Right.
And so now I play a lot of instruments, and then when I tour around the world, then I play those, and I've headlined in now 15 countries as a live looping artist. So, yeah, so it's a big thing, and it's great.
And I would say that now more than ever, it's becoming obvious in the everyday music that we listen to that looping and concepts similar to looping are just becoming very universally accepted in a lot of modern pop music. I mean, you just hear it all over the place. And so, I mean, when I first put two and two together that it was Rick and the looping, you know, it like blew my mind even more so because, you know, I happen to know the guy that, you know, happened to be somebody that was like seeing the long run of where this music could go. And so I'm really proud to say I not only know you, but I'm a friend of yours.
Oh.
And so, you know, I really, you know, that's mind blowing because I honestly never think I asked you in the time I've known you about, you know, the origins of looping or how you got involved with it in your life. And so this is why we're really happy to have a part 2 is because Rick and I had both talked quite a bit about the looping after I had known about it. And so I know how much passion it is in his life. And so I was like, please come and share that passion and talk to us and tell my audience, tell you guys out there about, you know, his involvement with looping and, you know, how it's been in his life. I want to give a shout out to all the brothers and sisters and family and everybody out there that, you know, you started out playing music with. You know, you're important. You're somewhere in our hearts. We don't know which part. Could be small part, big part, doesn't matter, but you're still in there.
I've been in a band with my brother. Every band that I led since 1975, every single one, right? And my brother has supported me, and my brother has been my teacher. He knows more about digital signal processing and harmony and theory than almost anybody I know in my entire life. So, if you haven't checked out Bill Walker's music, find him online. He's a master. I'm a really, really good looper. I'm nothing compared to my brother. My brother's a master. He's a master.
Please tell us about the electronic aspect of what your fuel is music-wise.
Yeah. Well, I one time I went to an Ultravox concert, and the drummer had a cymbal, a bass drum, and a snare drum, and that was it. And then they used a Roland CR78 drum machine, which was the first programmable drum machine. This was in the late 70s. And they played the drum machine as half of the rhythm, and then he played half, and he played kind of like a drum machine. And the sounds were so amazing, and it was like, wow. And I have a huge collection of drum machines.
Right.
And I began programming drum machines. I made a lot of money in the 80s programming drum machines, working for Zoom, working for Emu, you know, et cetera, designing stuff. So I've always loved trying to drum like a computer, trying to make computer programming sound like it's not computer programming, that interface between human and machine and all the sounds. It's the sounds, really.
Yeah.
And on some levels, I've always thought of myself more of as a timbrelist than as a rhythmist, because sound is everything to me. And so I'm really, really deeply into digital sound design and work a lot in digital sound design. So and you worked on quite a bit of some electronic stuff that you mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have. I think this year I'm going to put out a triple DVD of 30 compositions that will have all the artwork and all the videos that I made. And by the way, I use FL's Studio Producer's Edition for all my records. So, which is kind of started out as a drum machine and has just blossomed into a much more.
How long have you been associated with I mean, how long have you? Because you said you've seen it kind of grow from the roots. Like, how long have you been?
Well, I think I bought my first drum machines in the late 70s, and then I've collected them ever since. And I'm about to sell a TR-808 for about $3,500, right? You know, because they're really. You know, everyone has them, and I'm kind of like bored with it. So, but yeah. So I think I have 20 drum machines in my collection that are pre-digital. Right. And then a lot of digital drum machines too.
Let's talk a little bit about. Are you up to anything currently right now? Like, are you working on any albums?
Well, what I'm going to be doing is I did an all-improv record with Michael Manring and Henry Kaiser. It's a trio, and if it comes out, it'll come out under my name. So I'm going to be working on finishing that record this year. My wife has a record that's really close to releasing called Done Beginner, which is a really, really great record. And my wife's a really wonderful multi-instrumentalist. She has 5 CDs out already of really different.
I didn't know Chris had a 5. Jeez.
Yeah. And so we're going to be finishing those 2 records. Like I say, the Loop Festival is coming up, and we're really excited about that. That happens and this year it's going to be the few days before Halloween. It's going to be the weekend before Halloween.
Yeah.
So, which is in the middle of the week. So Halloween will be celebrated in the middle of our looping festival, and I'm really excited that all the foreign artists get to see Santa Cruz go nuts.
Yeah.
Which it does, because the biggest annual holiday in Santa Cruz is always Halloween. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. You got anything else kind of stewing after you head to Mexico? Or
I'm going down to record an album with an up-and-coming Mexican singer-songwriter, and mercifully he put the recordings so that they book into the looping tour. So I can do the looping tour, and as soon as it's over, I can make that record with him. His name is J.C. Taylor.
J.C. Taylor?
Wonderful, wonderful artist. Mexican artist in Mexico City.
Okay.
And honestly, I injured my thumb doing Indian motions for 5.5 hours at high speed, and it got so loose I think I pulled a tendon.
Right.
And so my thumb, like this thumb is that, and that thumb is like that. Okay. And it may be a chronic injury. I've looked into surgery. I've looked into all kinds of things. So I couldn't play drums a lot because it hurt, and I couldn't play. I was playing bass clarinet. I was playing tenor sax. I was playing a lot of finger picking, guitar and ukulele and banjo and stuff like that, and I just couldn't do it.
Right.
So 10 months ago, I discovered that if I do that motion, it doesn't hurt. Well, that's piano.
Right.
So I just started downloading songs, Fleetwood Mac songs, just because I was so frustrated I couldn't play.
Right.
So I wonder if I could sing a Fleetwood Mac song. And then I started going, before that I started going to karaoke a lot. And
I love karaoke.
And falling in love with singing. I'd never really tried to sing that much in my life. I sang backup, sang harmonies, but not much.
Right.
And anyway, I learned 150 songs this year, and right at the end, before Hoffman's finished, I did many Fridays where I played all 3 hours, where I was just playing mostly keyboards and other instruments and looping and singing songs, and I'm just in love with it. And I'm just like on a mission right now. I actually have not been playing a lot of drums except for jazz jams and recording sessions and teaching.
Right.
You know, but I haven't been working on my drums at all. I've been working mostly on piano.
Okay.
But it is a percussion instrument, so I guess
Hey. Can you tell me a little bit about, is there one specific keyboard that you've been kind of working on, that you've been working with to kind of help you with learning those songs? Or
well, I have a Casio Privia 350, which has a new digital sampling paradigm, and it's extremely accurate sounding thing. It's a Casio, so a lot of pros don't pay much attention to it, but it costs $700, and it sounds better than the $2,500 Nords that everybody plays, right? All the pros play. So I really love that instrument. But I also got a Korg Mini Log, which is a true analog synthesizer, and that's blowing my mind because I've never had a real analog synth. So now my studio, I got 4 keyboards in there. It's kind of funny because I always used to be not a keyboard person. I was like a guitar person, right? But
turned into Rick Wakeman over there.
Yeah, well, we won't go that far, but yeah. I promise myself on any instrument I will never go weedle weedle or thugada boogada thugada boogada or thwackada wackada thwackada wackada. We're going to leave that to the metal folks.
What do you do to unwind? Like, let's say you're just wanting a nice quiet day. Maybe you at home with the wife. What do you want to do to
We're kind of Anglophiles. We watch a hell of a lot of British episodic. We watch mysteries and just everything.
Any Doctor Who?
Yeah. My wife is a fanatic Doctor Who fan. I like Doctor Who, but I'm not fanatic, but I watch it with her a lot.
Exact same thing with me and my girlfriend.
Yeah,
she's huge into it, and I watched it. That's actually how we got together.
So we do that, and then I really love to play pool. And
that's right.
There's nothing better than have a Jameson with one thing of ice and to play a game of pool with my buddies. A couple of who are out there, you can't see them, but they're out there.
No, I can't remember
And we take very long walks.
Yeah. I can't remember how many times we've played pool together, but we always had a good time, always had good talks, and, you know, Rush, you know, it's got a special place in my heart. What can I say?
All right, everybody, put your hands together. I didn't say clap, I just said put your hands together. But let's clap.
We would love for you to plug whatever you'd like to plug. We mentioned Santa Cruz Drum Club, right? So Santa Cruz Drum Club, we're both actually affiliated with, and we definitely love the cause that is there, which is they want to basically help, you know, pass down all this great drum knowledge and skill to the new generation of drummers, to whoever's out there who's willing to kind of like listen and, you know, just kind of watch and learn and, you know, get, you know, what you can from these guys that have spent a good chunk of their lives to percussion, to playing, you know, drums. And you know, they have t-shirts that they are on sale at the Starving Musician. We sometimes sell them at the tapings, and those benefits, the proceeds, sorry, go to good causes that Santa Cruz Drum Club stands behind.
I just wanted to mention, in the 80s and 90s at least, I was really, you know, I was going to Paris, I was going to New York, I was going to London, and I was always asking people to show me percussion things, and I was talking to drummers all the time, going to the conventions. And Santa Cruz honestly had the largest per capita amount of drummers of any place I'd ever been in my life. Like, it was just unbelievable how many drummers there are. There aren't quite as many drummers as there used to be in those days, but Santa Cruz, it's amazing how many drummers and percussionists are in this town, considering that we have, what, 70,000 people or something, you know, 150,000 in the total area. So it's really cool that the Santa Cruz Drum Club has started because it's coalescing that energy.
Right.
And drummers, you know, men and women, drummers are just family, always, you know, and there's a special bond that all musicians have a bond together, but there's something about drummers, I don't know. So
we're touched.
Shout out to drummers.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Where can people find more of your music, or maybe you have a website, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You have a website. What is your website's address?
Okay, it's my moniker as a looping artist is Loop Pool, which is a palindrome, a pool of loops. Loop Pool, LOOPPOOL, and then it's .info, info like information. So it's a 4-letter domain, not a 3-letter. So if you go to looppool.info, you can find me. If you put Rick Walker Live Looping and go to YouTube, there are all kinds of videos. If you go to YouTube and put just Loop Pool in, I have 30 lo-fi toy digital camera animation.
But we definitely appreciate you coming in and giving us so much of your time and so much of your story because I think it's a damn interesting one. And for folks out there in Santa Cruz, I know you've probably seen Rick around. Again, it's not a very big town, so now you've got kind of the story on Rick Walker, somebody who I like to just call my friend. So
Thank you, Dave.
we have Wanna Burn Hot Sauce. We want to thank them for their sponsorship. We want to thank Santa Cruz Drum Club for their sponsorship. We want to thank JBQAV for helping promote and produce the show. They're really awesome. If you ever need anything AV-wise in Santa Cruz, JBQAV is your guys. And we want to thank East Cliff Brewing for hosting us, for being awesome hosts. We love them. Cheers. They're great folks. I am very, very happy to say that I was there for their second anniversary party, and it was off the hook. And I look forward to the third anniversary party. And you guys, thank you all for coming who are in the audience tonight. We really appreciate you guys, because without you, probably a little bit harder to do with this show with a straight face, you know, with at least a smile on my face. But yeah, hey, thank you so much. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Peace. We're done.
Awesome.